What up, y'all? It's your boy Mac Mizzle, the host with the most. Don't never need to brag no boast. All I do is give a toast to the real folks who done paved the way in the real way. A morning show, you know what it is. But I had to. I was listening to Mr. Neely Fuller's show on Talktainment. Shout out to Mr. Neely Fuller and Mr. Bobby. And this particular show gave me some motivation on replacing the system of white supremacy with justice. So I'm looking around and I'm seeing a certain pattern. And I like this show because he gave us a good perspective on the word fun and how we should go about looking at that word. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And we're going to listen into this show because he's breaking it down very constructively and precisely. And he's doing it wise. And I could honestly say that these are the things that we need to look into when it comes to dealing with ourselves and dealing with this whole system, you know, because ain't no two ways about it, man. It's either you're gonna face the shit or replace the shit. You dig? So let's keep it moving.
He uses logic, which is cause and effect. Then he uses examples to produce the point to make sure that you have clear understanding, because the one thing that we do not want on this program is confusion. So there may be a lot of things you may not understand, but keep on listening. We will both, Mr. Fuller and myself, will encourage you to purchase the book, which is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. I know that's a lot of words. Just call it the Code Book, which is offered through our website at producejustice.com. You need that. It's a code, it's a guidebook to ask or make suggestions as to what you can do to combat this white supremacy that we are all around. And bear in mind that we are in a prison system, and you know who holds all the keys to that. But this is what you can do. You will hear Mr. Fuller have reference to different movies for different points that have made out. In particular, he might mention the Shawshank Redemption. He might mention that in what each character played, in particular by Andy Dufresne in the movie. But there will be a lot of terms that you will hear. VGQ. You may hear Mr. Fuller say, "I don't know." It's all a part of the code to help you and to help us to understand what's going on. Special note, and this is very important, and I will make it also in the second hour. Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show on tomorrow, May the 4th. That's tomorrow, May the 4th, 2022, from 5 to 7 p.m. The radio station is WOL 1450 on the AM dial and 95.9. Is it 95.9, Mr. Fuller, on the FM?
Yes, 95.9 FM, WL Radio.
Yes, he will be on there. But our technicians and our people have made it convenient that you can get the show by going on our website at producejustice.com. The show will be up there, so you can hear Mr. Fuller tomorrow. Man, a double dose of Mr. Fuller. I'm excited just to hear that. Okay. So
5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Yes, 5
Eastern Standard Time.
5 p.m. until 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you can hear that. But we are live now. So we will commence with today's programming. Let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay. There's been several news-worthy items that have been mentioned in the past week, but any one or couple in particular, at least one in this first hour, that comes to your mind to commence today's program?
Well, the main thing I've been thinking about is relationships. Just every day, what we call ordinary relationships. We're kind of stuck in just what we routinely do. And even in our thinking, our traditional thinking, when I say we, I mean the white people of this planet and the non-white people of this planet. And that whole entire way of doing things, in our interaction with each other, according to compensatory logic, if we look at it, the logical question would be, is it what it ought to be? And obviously that is not the case. Nobody is interacting with each other, if you really think about it, in the top quality relationship that people can interact with each other in that frame of reference. We're just not up to standard. And that standard has not been set, even from a philosophical standpoint. And we need to establish a standard, what I call in the textbook for victims of white supremacy, T in capital letters, the quality relationship. What is it like? Quality relationships. We can cut right to the chase through all this racial nonsense and just the interaction between black people themselves, which is nowhere near what it ought to be. And we're just kind of stuck in it, and we keep trying to do something with it when it needs not only an overhaul, it needs to be abolished and redone altogether. I mean, just pulled up by the roots, including a whole bunch of things that we consider to be our traditions among white people and black people. Our traditions are not anywhere what they need to be in order to qualify for what? For what I say is the ultimate, and that would be universal man, universal woman. What would that look like? A universe that has people who are, to use a cliche saying, in tune with universal logic, with the best that there is in the universe, and 24/7, all over the world. This can't be a little patchwork like we've been doing, a little bit of this here and a little bit of that here and there, and just all over the place. And when you just stand back and look at the world situation and the way people interact with each other, even at their very best, it's just a sloppy mess. Just about all of it is. I mean, all, A-L-L, underline. You say, well, no, people ordinarily, I mean, we have a whole bunch of problems, but people generally, and that's the way I was looking at it, that's the way I was raised to look at it. But this thing needs to be thrown out, baby, with the bathwater. And we just look at everything like we're starting out with an entirely new universe. And starting today, and all this mess about arguing about CRT or trying to compensate for the Tulsa massacre and how far back do you go, I mean, in trying to come up with compensation for black people. Yes, that needs to be, but it needs to be in a super context and not the little stingy context that we're talking about. And that would be quality relationships starting with everybody this very minute. And what would that consist of? What would that look like in the way that you interact one-on-one with each person every day? That should be, you might say, even orchestrated a stereotype now. I don't say robotized, but some things need to be definitely put in a codified manner that are much better than the codes that we already have. We have codes. The way we interact with each other, saying good morning is a code. That's the way people greet each other in whatever language they happen to have all over the world or something like that. That's a part of a code. But I'm saying our codes need to be looked at and fine-tuned, and everything that is not just chiseled to perfection thrown out completely. I mean, everything that has the least bit of sloppiness to it, everything that is not designed to produce what? A constructive result in every move that we make. Because otherwise we have this Ukrainian thing, and we keep doing the same old stuff over and over and over again and expect a different result, which Einstein is reported to have said is the definition for insanity. And we're all an insane people. All of us. Everywhere on the planet. We're all insane. Nobody has any bragging rights. And is this just full of talking? No, I'm saying if you look at the logic of the universe, should people have bragging rights about what we're looking at right now, what we have been looking at like forever? Even our celebrations, the way we celebrate, and the things that happen in a lot of our celebrations, gunfire, and the way that we take for granted that most of our entertainment consists of conflict. You're not in conflict with somebody. Even something that a lot of people really enjoy, boxing matches. We take for granted that that's legitimate. That, that's acceptable. A couple of people get into the ring and try to kill each other. And we think that's normal. It is normal. All over the world. A boxing match. Very few places do they have banned boxing matches. Kickboxing and all like that. You go to different places. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, it's just a sport. Look at our sports. It embellishes killing or harming people or breaking bones. And you say, well, how are we going to have fun? Well, we'll just have to come up with a new perspective on F-U-N, fun. We need new types of fun, and all of it be constructive. Put a hammer to a nail and build something. That can be made into fun, rather than what we call it, hard work. We got this thing about hard work that even we put that word hard in front of it. That's an inhibitor right there. When you tell young people at a very early age, well, in order to get ahead, you have to work hard. Why not make work play? Accomplishing something that at the end of the day, you can look back and say, now that's what I did during the day. That was a real accomplishment. Something that can really be of service to someone. Something that produced a constructive result. Not what we call doing hard work in order to now, after we do our hard work, we're going to go out and entertain ourselves. That's because we have earned it from our hard work. And then our entertainment turns out to be gunfire, shell casings all over the place. I mean, we take that for granted. And if anybody mentions it nowadays in 2022, you just say, well, we had a huge celebration the other night, and only 22 people got killed, and that's down from last year. That's another thing. We've gotten on this thing where we're just as crazy as we can be. We're saying only 580 in this city black people, young black people, killed each other last year. Okay, only 580. Okay, the year before that, it was 1,020. So 580, boy, I mean, that's progress. And we were ready to bring in, have a parade. We're just as crazy as we can be. There shouldn't be any, A-N-Y, anywhere on the planet. Just one. No celebration. No, forget that. Somebody killed somebody on the planet today. Call all celebrations off. Look into this mess. Get to the bottom of this mess so it does not happen again. But we're strutting around, glorifying killing, glorifying war. Turn on any TV channel. Everything is about the new murder mystery series that's going to come out all this year. We got a new series of TV shows, all about killing, all about murder, with the white supremacists leading the pack. They're the guys for the entire world. They set the standards. And that's the kind of foolishness they come up with, because that's what racism is about. Mistreating people. People being mistreated. People getting revenge for being mistreated. Back and forth. And being led by the white supremacists. This is the kind of world that we have now. And everybody has found it not only acceptable, but something you should embrace full time. We're all crazy. I'm not supposed to be preaching, but I'm just, but that's what I'm doing, actually, and I should stop it. Because the code says you don't tell the truth by preaching it, or even by teaching it. Just tell it. And then correct whatever needs correction. That's code.
All right. We will go back to later in the program, quality relationships. I failed to mention, and forgive me, that you can also contact the show by my email address. Simply go to the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, @gmail.com. And I'm not going to say that it will be read today, but it will be put up so that it can, at a certain time, will be read, and I will alert you to when it is read by giving you the date and time. Also, boy, don't get on me for this one, Chapman, but you can go into the chat room. Now, I want to give you a word of caution. If you playing, don't go in there, because my people, they focus on telling the truth, and they get facts, and they ask a lot of questions and a lot of good topics. This is what you do. Go to blogtalkradio.com, and you want to go to shows or programs. When you punch that in, you'll get the Produce Justice program. Click on that, and then there's a place where you can click on the chat room. And, man, when you get in there, chances are you're going to see Be Good 1, Be Sam 721, Constructive Action Items, which gives you a review of whatever we did and discussed last week. Justice Warriors in there. Kurt Chris 16 is there. JJ 3577. 888 Rita Still Learning is in there. And they have some beautiful things to say. So you can join that conversation in there. And occasionally I will read one. Okay, let's go to the phone lines and let's do this. Let's see here. John in, I'll call it Houston, but it's Houston. Do we have a problem? John, what is your question for Mr. Fuller this morning?
Grand Rising, gentlemen, and we only have a problem when you say Houston, the New Yorkers. They don't seem to know who Sam Houston was. And by the way, for these Texans that don't seem to know, he came from Tennessee. That's why my exes are in Texas. And I hang my hat in Tennessee. You've heard that famous cowboy song. My brother from another mother. Interesting statement from Mr. Fuller this morning about, I would say, authentic relationships, maybe to a degree. But my question is simple in asking him, does he think we're in the midst of World War III? By adding this context, you're being born in the month of the great stock market crash of 1929, lived through the Great Depression, I would say firsthand experience of World War II. How do you feel, and I know you can't answer for a war situation, especially something of a global event, but what say you, Mr. Fuller, on whether or not we are in World War III, and what would be the constructive result, if there would be any, on the other side, as in the end of World War II gave us the financial system we have today? And I'd love to hear his response. Thank you, Mr. Bobby. Have a
You will stay on the line, my brother. I got you. Mr. Fuller?
I don't know. I don't know what the outcome of anything is going to be. I don't know what the outcome of this day is going to be. We could have some catastrophic event that suddenly the seas rise up from beneath the ground and just start rushing across the land. That can happen before this day is over. We have a world tsunami. Well, they say the ocean is rising. I mean, suddenly, for one reason, something is happening. The earthquake is up under all the oceans, somewhere in the center of the earth, and in a few days, there's going to be very little land left. That can happen before this day is over. So I look at any prognosis, any forecast about some quote-unquote new world war coming up in the same context. Anything can happen. People got all these atomic bombs stored up, some of them collecting dust. I mean, by the thousands. I understand it's into the thousands. Atomic bombs by the thousands. Now, if they start throwing all that hardware around, there ain't going to be nothing left, according to what I heard even back in the 1950s. So this is 2022. So if I heard that in the 1950s, that they were beginning to store up. By the 1970s, they had stored up thousands of warheads, thousands of them, atomic warheads, blow up the whole world several times over. And so they got hydrogen in there and cobalt. They had that even by the late 1940s. The atomic bomb, first one, over a city, was August the 6th, 1945. The Enola Gay B-29 bomber flew over Hiroshima, Japan, and dropped that bomb, and that one bomb wiped out, for all practical purposes, the entire city. Just one bomb. And that was considered the primitive stage. By the 1970s and 80s, what we call Vietnam, which they no longer call that a war. They didn't even call what I was in, Korea. They didn't even call it a war. They called it a police action.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and it lasted 3 years. That's how, World War II lasted 4 years. So how did Korea be a police action when you were throwing all that hardware around, just like in World War II, or later on in Vietnam, or later on in Iraq, or later on in Afghanistan? I mean, they make fun and games out of all of this killing, and that needs to stop.
Yes.
And so in order for it to stop, you have to have relationships that do not glorify war. I was raised up on nothing but an appetite of people killing each other, right from grade school. That's all they talk about. All the heroes are killers. Julius Caesar was a killer. Christopher Columbus was a great navigator, but he was navigating in order to find some people to kill. And this goes all back. Greek history, a lot of Africans, I mean, truth be told, fell into that trap of talking about great Zulu warriors and whatnot. the Indian tribes. I mean, raising their children to be warriors. See, we got to get out of that primitive mind and get into a quality relationship state of mind. What makes for a quality relationship where you're just absolutely deliriously happy? We always say that we want to be happy. We're not doing anything that brings about happiness. But I mean, anytime you really interact with people, I mean, when you walk away from them, the constructive result was you're happier than you were before you interacted with the person. That's the way all interactions should be, rather than having people sit around like they're doing now, plotting on, like the caller just said, World War III. We already have a war, according to the code.
Yes, sir.
It never stopped. It's called a race war. You can't chop that up into little pieces and whatnot, and even segment it. Whenever the system of white supremacy started, that's the greatest war that ever was in recorded history, because it's never stopped. No truth has been called, no peace has been called. That war has been going on, and we are the prisoners of it, the people of color, right today.
All right, John. I got you on hold, so you can continue to listen to the program, and thank you. Let me take a little station break here. You are listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Nelly Fuller Jr. here on Blog Talk Radio and also at ProduceJustice.com. We thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Hopefully, you will learn something, focus in on what is being said, and ask questions, particularly if you are a new caller. Oh, yeah, just call in, and you can do that by calling or dialing 516-453-9921, and make sure that you press the number 1 button. Make sure you do that. Give the call screen of your name, please. That's very important. You can also contact me by using my Gmail, the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com.
So just think of the two words constructive result. And it applies to everybody. See, the one thing that beginning of this day, even with me this morning, I was thinking about, well, now, you're going out there talking and whatnot, but after you do all this talk, and then after you start, come off air talking to other people, and you got the rest of the day, what are you going to do, Fuller, for the rest of this day and night, and the next day and the next night, for the rest of your existence? Really, that's what we're talking about. The day is the first day of the rest of your life, okay? So what are you going to do every minute that produces a constructive result? And look at what you are going to do, first of all, the things you have in mind to do. In answer to the question, the latest question, yes, that applies not only, we keep talking about our offspring, that applies to us. Everybody's supposed to be on the same page. Doesn't have anything to do with whether they're our offspring or somebody else's offspring, or how old they are, how young they are, how tall they are, whatever their gender is or whatever. Is it going to produce a constructive result, whatever it is you're going to do? Just those two words. That should ring all over the world. And CR, you're talking about CR, constructive results, truth. How about that CRT? Constructive results, truth. Because you definitely need the truth in order to have constructive results. So a lot of white people are objecting to CRT. Well, rather than critical race theory, let's just call it constructive results, truth. How about that? Okay? It can still be CRT, since that's already in the lexicon, already in dictionaries, I guess. So rather than going around cursing everybody else out and going to different type of meetings and everybody trying to shout everybody down. Just say, let's just do whatever produces the constructive results. So in order for that to happen, you have to find out, okay, constructive results call for, first of all, what are you going to be doing that produces constructive results in all areas of activity? Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, each and every day. And the only question is, at the end of that day, did it produce a constructive result? And then you can follow that up with any number of questions you want. Show me. Can you show me the constructive result?
Why are you such a bugger?
And prove that it's a constructive result. You know, we produce results all the time, but are they constructive? Every move you make, sitting down to eat a meal, or even to prepare a meal, am I doing something constructive? This show that I'm making, I'm making a new type of vegetable cake. A cake that is made of vegetable, and it's cake. So the pancakes that we eat, which I definitely like pancakes. I like pancakes. Always have liked pancakes. But I stopped eating pancakes. Why? Because you're not really made enough. That produces constructive results. Just look at what goes into a pancake. Everything is called what? Enriched. And look at the terminology that is used. Everything says enriched. And that makes you think you're getting a whole lot of something that produces constructive results. They can't prove to you that this enriched flour produces a constructive result. Ask that. Sir, you're coming out with these new type of pancakes, and you say you're using enriched flour. First of all, what is flour made of? And you say you are enriching it. What does that mean? Because somebody told me it's taking all the substance out of it, so that what you have is a whole lot of fluff that's going to really tear your body down. Your body's not going to know what to do with it. Your body gets signals from you. So just when it comes to a meal, in answer to the question, constructive results. Constructive results. That should be the tick that all black people want. Constructive results.
Okay.
What's going to be the result? And is it going to be constructive? Anything that anybody suggests.
Mm-hmm.
Backyard party, or going to Acapulco, or trying to come up with some new type of school plan. What's going to be the constructive result in this course? Yeah, well, we're going to be teaching this, and we're going to be teaching some new courses here and whatnot. What's going to be the constructive result, Professor? Dean, school board, whomever.
Okay. All right, constructive action items. Hey, you know what happens when you're the first time caller. Do not be a stranger. Don't do that. Thank you for calling in, and you go back to the chat room on that one. By the way, Mr. Fuller, listen now, Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson Show tomorrow, which is what, Wednesday, not Thursday this month, but I think it's for maybe this month only. I don't know, but I do know that I was told that Mr. Fuller will be on tomorrow, Wednesday, May the 4th, from 5 to 7 p.m. Now, you can get that show right here on this website, PurdueJustice.com. We set up a special thing. All you have to do is click the button, man. You can listen to Mr. Fuller on the Carl Nelson Show. That's tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. Are we still on Daylight Savings Time? Yeah, Eastern Daylight Savings Time. We're still on that. So make sure you want to tune in. You get Mo Fuller. Yeah. Speak about that. Oh, and by the way, listen, for all the callers that are on the line and even the new callers, we're going to ask you to limit your question to one question, and don't try to trick me by give a part A, part B. No, just one. Please, ma'am. Please, sir. Corey, I'm from Milwaukee. You are on. If I can get you in here. Yeah. Okay, Corey, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Greetings, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. Quickly, I'd like to say I did order the original version and an additional word guide as a gift from ProduceJustice.com, and I got it very fast. So, hey, thanks, and I appreciate that. And my question, Mr. Fuller, when non-white people who are not black say and do incorrect things towards or against black people in a manner, similar to what racist men or racist women do, we cannot call this racism. Is that true?
It's not racism. No. White supremacy is racism, and racism is white supremacy. The non-white people who mistreat each other on the basis of color and shades of color learn that from the white supremacists. People who call, we call ourselves black, I do, and whatnot, but black people, some people call it colorism. We have learned that from the white supremacists. When I was in elementary school, in high school, it was kind of traditional to pick somebody. The most popular girl on the campus would be somebody who had light skin among black people. In the 1940s, that was kind of understood. You didn't get somebody who was jet black, midnight black, and march them across the stage talking about some beauty contest. No, light skin and long hair, you can throw that in too. And even some light skinned girls who were chosen. I've seen it going back to the 1940s and 30s. They would cringe and say, why me? I mean, I'm not the smartest student in the class, and yeah, but you're so, she's pretty. That's among black people who call ourselves black, and you still see a lot of it. Not as much as you used to, but it's there. Truth be told, and we should stand on the truth. So, if someone who is what you call Japanese or somebody like that, I mean, as much as what you might call an attitude or Arab, dark-skinned Arab, I mean, this all comes from the white supremacists. That's why they are supreme. They say we're going to manipulate the minds of all these people so that they will all be garbage. Everybody with color in their skin, when you compare them to any white person, they're a bunch of garbage. And we're going to treat them like garbage. And that philosophy took off across the entire world and became the most powerful philosophy and the most powerful government that any people in recorded history have ever seen. And in answer to your question, that is where it comes from. No, it's not racism on the part of black people or brown people or yellow people or red people. No, that comes from the white supremacists. That's why they are supreme. They spread that poison into everybody. We are all poisoned by it. Yeah. Even when we don't think we are. We're just as poisonous as we can be.
Okay. All right. Corey, you know what's happening. You better not be it. You better not. All right, listen up, listen up. Mr. Fuller, you started off with a soliloquy about the equality relationship, and I took some notes on that. One of the things that was mentioned, you didn't mention that, but these were basically tragic arrangements instead of tacky, trashy, and terroristic arrangements. It made me think of
arrangements.
Yeah.
That's how the people of this planet relate to each other. And we call it a relationship. It's an arrangement. It shouldn't even rise to the title of relationship. We don't have relationships. We got arrangements. And they're all tacky, trashy, and are terroristic worldwide.
Which,
according to what? Logic and evidence.
Counter-racist compensatory logic. By the way, to our new callers that are in here, that trashy, tacky, and terroristic arrangement is also in the book that you can get by going to Produce Justice. Now, it's simply called the Code Book, but one of the titles is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. You go someplace and try to say that, you're going to mess it up. Just say the Code Book. You need to get the book and get it right here. Yeah, by going to ProduceJustice.com. But if you don't go there, I was told last week something about Amazon.com. And make sure if you do go to Amazon.com and get the book, leave a little comment there. It helps us to do what we need to do. So, Dre, I'm getting ready to come to you, but Mr. Fuller, speaking about those arrangements, it reminded me of the mental health condition that, let's just say she took her own life, is what it's come out. Naomi Judd of the Judd Singers. And that prompted me to think of something that was going on in the chat room by Rita 888 by saying, do we need therapy to address our trauma?
What's wrong?
Do we need therapy?
Yes, to address our trauma. Rita 888 mentioned that in the chat room.
And that's what all of our talk on this program is supposed to be. Okay. Therapy just means you're ill and you cure your illness. That's what therapy means.
Stand up, right?
It's a theory, about...
Stand up, Daddy, stand up.
What do you do when you're sick? You cure your sickness. And we have been taught systematically to glorify sickness in both our bodies and minds. Like I just mentioned food a while ago. We've been taught to worship food that's killing us. And then we complain about dying from the bad food.
Okay.
But we like it because it's tasty.
It's tasty.
Yes, I mean, I had to wrestle with that quite a bit myself.
I know, you them pancakes.
40 years ago. Sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, I used to eat everything that was poisonous. I mean, like I said, pancakes and whatnot. Hell.
I'll tell you, John
yes. I mean, hey, you cut me off from some pancakes now. You got a problem.
It might be a fight.
I think just thinking about it right now, I want some.
I mean, you got my mouth watering. I'm looking at a pancake bottle right now.
But somebody needs a mix. See, that's what I'm saying about doing something better.
Yeah.
We can still have pancakes if somebody right now starts thinking, I'm going to invent a new type of pancake.
Okay.
You know, how about that? Starting off with constructive results.
Yeah.
Fuller was talking about pancakes, and he really likes pancakes, but he can't eat the ones that he's been eating all his life, even though he wants some right now, and I do right this minute. I'd like to have a nice plate of pancakes, hot pancakes with butter and plenty of syrup. Okay?
Yeah, well,
and it will kill me. Okay?
I'm laughing because in my right hand I'm holding a bottle of syrup, a log cabin, no high fructose corn.
So stand back out of the way. All right? I mean, three good pancakes. I mean, right off the griddle, nice and hot. Don't let them get cold.
Stop it.
Pour that butter all over it. Pour poured butter. You know, you melted the butter first, and it's hot. And then you pour it, and then you pour that syrup. Oh man, hey, you got a couple of eggs standing by.
See, now stop it.
Stand back out of the way. And you know what you're doing? You're killing yourself.
We are.
Everybody who's doing that right now. Now, I don't want to shut down anybody's restaurant, but that's the truth. So what you do is keep the restaurant. Now, here's where the compensatory code kicks in. Keep the restaurant open, but come up with a new type of pancake. Make it out of oatmeal and have it tasting just the same.
Oatmeal pancake.
Now we're progressing.
All right.
Or potato.
Yeah.
Now, they got potato pancakes, but they need to do something else with it. Because I tasted potato pancakes. They don't work for me.
John Rain says from the chat room, he was speaking to Rita, he said, this program is therapeutic. So that goes along with what you said at the beginning. And then he went on to say that Carl Nelson and Fuller go hard. Yeah. Speaking about that, tomorrow, the 4th, May 4th, go forward. Fuller is on the Carl Nelson Show, WOL, AM 1450, and also 95.9 FM. But PurdueJustice.com also has it. All you got to do is get on our website, you go right to it, and you're there. Fuller on the Carl Nelson Show tomorrow. You know what? Some people don't like for me to say that, but I'm going to say it anyway. He's on the Carl Nelson Show tomorrow at 4, from 5 p.m. until 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time, however they say that and that's it up. Okay, let me see if I can get this new caller in here. Those of you on hold, continue to wait. We'll get you in here. One thing about the show, I've noticed that they've done some new things. Okay, let me see here. Let me blacken up this screen here and see as I'm messing around here. We're not time yet. Okay, new caller. I can't get you in here. Okay, get you in here now. There you go. You are on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby.
Yes, sir.
First, I would like to say, Mr. Fuller, I appreciate you for your work. You really inspired me to be a more constructive man. My question is, how do I deal with condescending suspect white supremacists?
Well, it depends on, that's kind of broad, so you'd be specific. It comes down to what I call CR again, constructive results. Doesn't make any difference what the action. Don't pay any attention to the mannerism. Pay attention to what they're doing or saying. And the actual words or the deeds. And just ask one question. Sir, ma'am, regardless of how they're acting, that's what code means. You steady. You're rock steady. You don't ever change. Okay? And so after they do whatever they're doing or saying whatever they're saying, you just say, sir, ma'am, does that produce a constructive result? Or what is the constructive result? See, just stick with those two words in your mind the whole time you're talking. Because that's what you're going to ask about. Put everything in your conversation, for one thing, should mostly be in the form of questions. So whatever they're saying, if they're so-called, you say condescending, you don't pay attention to that. Just say constructive result. Sir, is this going to produce a constructive result? And if it is, how?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And wait for them to answer, and don't cut them off when they're trying to answer. And I know that's something you have to train yourself to do, because it's almost like a natural thing that we'll ask people a question, and then we'll proceed to answer the question for them. Don't ever do that, regardless of what the answer is, and don't argue about the answer, whatever answer they give you. Don't say, now wait a minute, I don't agree with that. No, don't do that. Just be ready with the next question. And if you keep doing that, question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, question, answer, it will always lead everybody, always. It will always lead everybody right to where they should be.
All right.
Won't lead everybody to where they want to be, but it will always, without fail, lead everybody to where they should be. Just that process. Questions and answers. If you don't believe it, run a test on it. And whether they're, they got what you call an attitude, or they're being condescending, or they're talking like, they're half crazy or whatever you want to call it. Don't pay attention to the mannerisms. Just center on asking the question about constructive results. It'll take everybody right where they need to be. Those answers that you get. Just be ready with the next question. If the first question was answered, but it was inadequate. So just move to another question.
Alrighty, Dre, don't forget, hey, listen, bro. You can get all this information and suggestions by not only going to producejustice.com, but make sure that you purchase the book, the code book, and it'll be suggestions to your various things that you come in contact. I would already say dilemmas, but whatever you come in contact with. Producejustice.com. That goes for everybody else. And if you go, you can also use Amazon.com, and make sure if you use that to give a little mention with this program. Before we move on, and we have many callers in here, don't forget, callers, please, just one question today. Going to the chat room, just as Rory said, Mr. Fuller, please stop making excuses for these other non-white people. The Arabs were the original enslavers of black people on the planet. And when these other groups came over here, they're not attempting to work with or help the native black American population here. They seek to align with white supremacists. And the white supremacist doesn't force them to join them. In fact, they're doing dirt all over on their own country, yet they still find commonality with them. Mr. Fuller, that is why we say health/medical should be your 10th category. You just broke down exactly why using pancakes as an example. Wow. How about that? Wait a minute. Let me finish the rest of it. Using pancakes as an example. Mr. Fuller, that is why we say health. Well, yeah, I read that part here. As an example, the 10th area should be health. You just broke down exactly why using pancakes as an example. Okay. Well, you've already discussed that many, many times on the program about, not on this particular program, but how health is incorporated in all the 9 areas of human, bad word for me, of people activity. How about that? Anyway, going on here, we're coming to the close of the first hour of the Counter Racist Code Show. So, Mr. Fuller, we have about 2 minutes and 4 seconds, so I'm going to give that to you before we commence with the second hour of the Counter Racist Code Show and also the caller. So, for 2 minutes, you are on, Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
I just want to emphasize what I started out with today, and that is we need quality relationships. Quality relationships with each other should be very uniform. It'll apply to everybody. And quality relationships with white people. We don't put a dividing line there saying this is a black thing. I mean, you wouldn't understand. That's a slang we came up with some years ago. It's a black thing and they wouldn't understand. Well, does that produce constructive results? That we got a black thing that white people don't understand? And what constructive results does it produce? That's the question. The constructive results are always the thing. And that's, we should go forward with those 2 words. From now on, constructive results. Or you want to talk about relationships, you'll say the quality relationships. We don't have them now. In capital letters. The quality relationships. That's what we should want. Every relationship, every time you speak to someone and you walk away from that someone, that quality relationship should have been what? Should have produced a constructive result. See, just high-fiving and all the handshakes that we got, coming up with new types of handshakes, new types of high-fives, new types of hugs, this, that, and the other, all that drama. Let's get some substance into some quality relationships and make them real quality relationships that will produce constructive results. That's one-on-one or with a group or with anybody. I mean, every time you make a contact, think of how it's going to produce a constructive result. And that's how we can get through all of this, cut right to the chase, without having meetings and whatnot and arguing about CRT and everything else that we can argue about. And black people, when we have our meetings, trying to figure out which black person is more loyal to the quote-unquote black cause than the other black person sitting next to you. That's a game that we all been enjoying much too long, and that's got to stop. Come away from there with all quality relationships and constructive results. And stop just going to meetings just to say, prove that you can out-talk everybody else. Because that's what we're really doing if we tell the truth. I told them a thing or two, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have come to the conclusion of the first hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Nelly Fuller. So thank you for the privilege and the pleasure of your time that you have given us. We thank you. We hope that you tune in next week if you have to go. But if you have to stay, then don't go away because we have another hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Nelly Fuller commencing in 5 seconds. Alrighty, good morning, grand rising, however you want to say it, but welcome to the second hour of the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Nelly Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. Now, if you would like to get in contact with the show, and there are those that are holding that I'm going to get to eventually, call this number, 516-453-9921, and make sure you give the call screener your name. If you have to write your question down, do that. We're asking you only have one question today, please, because as you can tell, we have a lot of stuff, and Mr. Fuller is going on with explanations of the points that he is trying to make so that we have understanding. Clearly, no conflict and no confusion, none of that stuff. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, at gmail.com, and we can go from there. I do have one that I'm going to read. And you can also go into the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com, click on programs, and then you'll find the Produce Justice Show. Click on that bad boy, and then there's a chat room. Now, before you push that button or click on that, I'm just trying to tell you, the chatters, they be something else. Eloquent in whatever they have to say. No cussing. No, they don't do that. They tell you like to see how it is. Okay. Oh, yeah. Got to do this. Fuller will be on tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. Wednesday. Mark it down. Wednesday in your head. Wednesday on the Carl Nelson Show. Tomorrow. I know Wednesday, May 4th. From 5 until 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mr. Fuller will be on. Check it out. More Fuller. I know I'm excited about that when they gave me the news this morning. Okay. With that being said, let's go. Oh, yeah. We were focused in on quality relationships in the first hour. Mr. Fuller was talking about that. The interaction with people. You want to produce a constructive result. And this is where you can use compensatory counter-racist logic to do that, and you will come in contact with the logic of the universe instead of the tacky, trashy, terroristic arrangements that we all seem to be under. And don't forget all that conflict that's going on all over the world. Nobody's talking about Africa, the Sudan, the South Sudan. You ain't heard that. Anyway, Marcus, it's you. You finally, wait a minute, let's see if I can get you. You finally made it. Thanks for holding, brother. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
I have a thank you. I have a quick VGQ and one question. The VGQ is, Mr. Fuller, it was interesting this morning when you were talking about hard work. I work in a tank storage facility for marine oils and chemicals. And when I told my manager that I'm restricted from learning new tasks to produce even better and more constructive results, her reason being was, quote unquote, it's hard work. So my question is this morning, why do the white supremacists want to have full control over how women are reproducing offspring?
Why do the white supremacists want full control over how women are producing offspring?
Yes, this question is in context.
The white supremacists want to have full control of everything in the universe. That's why their reach, their ability is greater than anyone else's because they want to reach farther. They're always talking about going to the other side of, going not only to the other side of this universe, they're talking about actually physically going to another universe. That's how they wake up in the morning thinking. So while the average black person is just trying to figure out how to catch the bus, the white supremacists have been burning midnight oil, talking about what they'll be doing 2,000 years from now in outer space. See, so when your mind stretches into that unlimited existence, an unlimited existence, they want to go where there are no limitations. That's how they think. The white people who believe in white supremacy believe in being the best that an individual can possibly be and the most powerful. Now, what they call the best is power. If they're a white supremacist, if they're a white person who is not just about being a powerful person, but being powerful in order to do evil. So that's the white supremacist mind. But unfortunately, they are the people who are running all of the business of the people on this planet. The average black person just wants to do just enough to impress another black person. Truth be told.
Show off, huh?
Show offism. That's all black people look forward to. I mean, showing off to whatever black person you see that you can show off to for the next 5 minutes. And show off any kind of way. Either by coming up with some type of song that you can impress them with, or some kind of dance, or starting a fight. Like many, I won't say most, but taking a cue from the white supremacists, just start a fight. You know, and see how many people you can kill, or whatever. How many people you can injure, and you got some attention. If nobody finds it out, I mean, you got the attention to yourself. You can walk around feeling good about yourself because you killed a couple of people at the party last night, and they accused somebody else of doing it and already arrested them and convicted them and all like that. So you got away with it. That's a big deal with black people. Big deal. I mean, we look forward to that. Because we don't see anything else to look forward to.
Okay.
When the white supremacists are thinking about, hey, what we're going to be doing 2,000 years from now, and not only that, what they're going to have black people doing 2,000 years from now. That's how they think. So we have to start thinking at a level that we have never even imagined before. And we need to do it like starting right now, this minute. And stop this thing about just trying to impress another black person and getting a photo op. Going to take 1,000 pictures that nobody's ever going to look at again. Because that's what happens, the old photographs. Truth be told, we need to just look at things the way that they really are. We're going on a trip, on a cruise. We're going to take 100 photographs. And truth be told, people will tell you, they'll tell you the truth. How many times have they taken those photographs out and looked at them? Once they got them stacked up in some trunk somewhere. And another thing, if you're going to take the photographs, now this is just a little tip, always put the time, date, and where you were and who the people are in the photograph.
Okay.
I want to send that, for years I've been wanting to send that out over the air because I have come across old photographs of people who are kin to me. Nothing on the back of the photograph, nothing on the front, nothing to indicate who the people are, where they are, what they were doing at the time, what their names are. But you're looking at your family history there. But it's not your family history because you don't know who the people are. You just know that they're kin to you.
Okay.
And you've got 40 photographs that are absolutely worthless.
All right, noted. Marcus, was your question in response to the breaking news about whatever Judge Ito, somebody leaked a memorandum of what the decisions the Supreme Court is going to make to tear down Roe versus Wade?
Yes,
the abortion thing? Okay. I thought that, okay. All right, I thought it was. Very good.
Did I answer the question? Yeah.
You did, but truthfully, I did like the answer that you gave, even though it was kind of unrelated. Anything you say, I really do like, but not really. So if you could have an answer in response to that decision about why the white supremacists would want control over women and how they produce offspring, I'd really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. I mean, they wanted to, like I said, getting back to it. See, the white supremacists want to control everything. That's what makes you supreme. You're not supreme if you're not controlling what everybody does. That's why they are. But in order to be supreme, you have to know a whole lot. You have to study a whole lot. You have to burn midnight oil when everybody else is asleep. You have to make plans. See, so the white supremacists have become the smartest people in the world because they wanted to be, and they put it in their folklore and whatnot. More than anybody. I have more than anybody. I have more knowledge than anybody. Everybody else put together. I got more knowledge than all those dark people. That's the white supremacists, because we base everything on, first of all, on color. And then, how do you achieve that? Well, you become smarter than they are. How do you achieve that? By teaching them to be dumb, the worship being dumb, which is what white people do. The white supremacists have done that to black people. I mean, they've done an excellent job of that. See, we worship being stupid. We worship anything stupid, we want to be a part of it. If it's something that's really takes some thought and looks like it's leading to something constructive, we have been systematically taught, and our actions show it for the most part. Now, recently, there have been some signs we want to break out of that, in all honesty. For the first time, I will say, in the last 10 years, a lot of black people want to break out of that traditional mold of seeking out stupidity as the way to live. Do something stupid. Find the most stupid things that you can possibly be involved in and just jump right in. I mean, hook, line, sinker, way over your head in it, and just be giddy about it and make a whole lot of noise about it and try to drag as many other black people into it as you possibly can and get an attitude toward them if they don't.
All righty.
Now, that's a part of what we call black culture, the centerpiece of black culture.
Yes,
Truth
sir.
be told. We need to stop.
Okay. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. Be Good One mentioned that the Dred Scott decision is still in effect. Now, for those of you who do not know anything about that, Google that or whatever you need to do. Google that, and particularly what Judge Roger Taney had to say. Then you'll see why Be Good One said that the Dred Scott decision is still in effect. Yeah, it's still going on. Also, I was reminded that when you go to producejustice.com to get the materials that Mr. Fuller is talking about, in particular, the books. Somebody called in this morning and said that they got the 1984 edition, the original one. They got that book, but there's also two others. And I was reminded to mention that you get this book right here, get the word guide. And Mr. Fuller, before I get to the new caller here, just explain quickly what is the word guide for people who don't know what that is.
Well, compensatory definitions mostly. How to use words if you're a person of color in the system of white supremacy. What words to ask questions about when other people use them, because the white supremacists use words in such a way that they serve the system of white supremacy, like everything that they do. The white supremacists do nothing that's not going to serve the system of white supremacy. And what is white supremacy? A system of producing fun, producing glory, and producing material comfort by mistreating people based on color. And it became the most powerful political and religious idea in recorded history. And it stands that way here in the year 22. It's the dominant philosophy of the entire planet right now as we speak. That idea, it spread and became the most powerful idea ever put into action among the people of the planet in recorded history. Nothing has turned out to be more powerful. And it's a very simple idea. Okay. You just figure out a way to mistreat people for your benefit and base that mistreatment on the color of the skin of the people who are being mistreated. Very simple. And that's why it works so well. Because a lot of simple things work very well. I mean, because it's almost like this natural. So they have words that help them to do that. You can control the way people think by the words that you use. So they figured that out a long time ago. Otherwise, they could not have done what they are doing and continue to do. So you have to counteract that. And so you do it by, you can't learn a new language, in time to have any effect. So you use the language that that's available to you. And on the planet, the English language is very prominent. So my book, because that's the only language I know, is written in English. But using those English words, it tells black people what words to look out for, what words to ask questions about, what words to give new interpretations to, like I have done. I gave an interpretation of the word justice that I think will stand the test of time. And always do things with the idea in mind that you are producing a constructive result. Otherwise, you're losing everything anyway.
Yes, sir.
If your plan is not to produce a constructive result, then the book is not for you. Nothing in the book. because it's about taking things that are non-constructive and making them constructive, including the English language. And that's what the Word Guide does. Takes the English language and make words that may have a question mark about them, about how constructive they are, and kind of make them like tools, because words are tools, fashion those tools in a manner that will produce constructive results, which means you first of all reveal the truth. You got to have the truth in order to produce a constructive result in anything.
That's right.
Truth means that which is. And so you can get the books by going to producejustice.com.
Okay.
And then you'll see what's there.
Constructive Results Truth. SCRT. We got one. Okay. Here's the order of service. Sound like we're in church. Okay, we're going to do Asia and Ray and Darnell. We're going to try to get to you in a Gmail. So new caller alert. Asia, wait a minute, see if I can get you in here. Okay, Asia.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Hi, Mr. Fuller. Hi, Mr. Bobby. Well, the longer I listen, my question kind of changed. With having until we all can be on, like-minded across the board, which will take a very long time. As an individual, or I wanted to say woman, but I want to say individual, what should the mission be? If you're doing all of the things that you say we should do as individuals, and until we all are on like mind and doing those things, what does the individual do until then?
Every move you make produce a constructive result. That's what an individual should do. That's why the book is written. The book is written for the individual. And don't worry about how long it's going to take. I mean, you start where you start. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. That's an old saying. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So you don't look around for the crowd. See, black people are always looking for a crowd. We love crowds, even though the crowd's not doing nothing. They're standing there looking at each other, waiting on somebody to do something. Do something like what? So we should always think in terms of, hey, I'm a majority of one. Doesn't make any difference what everybody else is doing. I know what I'm supposed to be doing with my time. See, each person is given two things when they're born, time and energy. And you can only have so much of it. You're only going to have so much time. That's already been proven. You don't stay here forever. And you're going to only have so much energy to use with that time. So the code book says you look around for why are you here? Just ask yourself that question. You could have been born 1 trillion years ago, in which case you'd be doing something like maybe trying to outrun a dinosaur or something. I don't know. But you are here now. You didn't ask to get here. You found yourself here. So the question is, what are you supposed to be doing while you're here? So it comes down to two words. Problem solve. Why? Because you have problems. So what you do each and every day, regardless of what everybody else is doing, you say, I'm going to solve problems. Because that's why I was born, to solve problems. Now, how do you know that you were born to solve problems? According to counter-racist compensatory logic. Because you have problems. Now, what's the biggest problem that you have? It's the race problem. Now, how do you solve the race problem? By doing everything that will produce a constructive result. That's the equation. That's after you figure out, first of all, you were born, why you were born, and all like that. See, we've taken you that far just in the last 2 minutes or so. All right? You're here. So what it comes down to is just very few things. To see to it that everything that you do and say produces a constructive result with everybody that you encounter, white and non-white. And let people know that that's your mission. That anytime you're involved in anything, you want to know what the constructive results are going to be. And don't bother about all the rest of it, because if you start doing that, you go into what they call despair.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Okay.
You just say, well, it's just too big. The problem is just, and then that's why a lot of black people are joining white people and becoming suicidal.
Yeah.
All right? And that's got to stop. You get there. You don't have to kill yourself because the world ain't the way you want it to be. You can live out the term. I mean, why? Because you didn't do nothing to earn it no way.
Mm-hmm,
This is a gift. So you don't have to curtail that. You will die. You stay here long enough. All right? I got both feet in the grave right now. I got sense enough to know it. Okay? But I'm trying to do the most constructive thing right up until the time that they throw that dirt in my face. And I want to know, is that the constructive thing for them to do? You know?
All right.
And when they do it, I'll say, yeah, do it and get it over with. And don't waste a whole lot of time doing it, because y'all got time. That'll leave y'all time to go and do something else that's constructive, other than bury me. I mean, you know, that's the way my mind works. Okay.
All right. All right, Asia, you get the new greeting. Don't be a stranger. Rita 888, I don't see that new caller moniker, but they'll let me know what's going on. Now, for those of you that don't know or will not read, you know how we are. Somebody said if you want to keep things from a black person, put it between the pages of a book. But for those of you who will not study it, one of the decisions that came out of the Dred Scott decision, and thank you, B1, for bringing it out, was a decision by Judge Roger Taney. It was on the Racial Matter show this morning. I was up at 3 this morning watching it, and then Still Learning repeated it. This is what Judge Taney said. I believe his name Roger Taney. Dred Scott decision by the Supreme Court of the United States. Judge Taney said this, quote, "The black man has no rights that the white man is bound to respect," end of quote. Now, that's what Judge Roger Taney said. See if that's still in effect. All right. 301 course. Okay. All righty. Let's see here. Let me see if I can get this in here, this computer. Okay. Wait a minute. See, we already had Marcus, so thank you, Marcus. We already had John. Okay. I believe it's Ray's turn. Ray, get ready, Ray. Here we go. You are on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, Ray.
Mr. Fuller, since the system of white supremacy and the system of justice cannot exist at the same time, what would the period following white supremacy preceding justice be referred to?
Okay.
What was the period of white supremacy preceding justice? I don't know. The world has been, as far back as I have read and heard, a non-just place. And the white supremacists has made it even more so and put it under their umbrella. That's the only thing that's different. Prior to that, what is justice? According to the code, it's guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Those two things. That's a made-up definition. I made it up, and it's in the code book. I think that definition will stand the test of time. It may not, but that's the one I've come up with, because the ones that I've seen in other dictionaries, I couldn't get constructive results from reading those definitions. too vague. So I made up one, a compensatory definition. And everybody should make up. You should make up definitions for words that work for you, because a word is nothing but a tool that produces constructive results. That should be your use of any word or any tool or anything that you do. So in answer to that question, you just say, like I said, if you don't know, I don't know. I don't know what happened, what the world was like before we had an unjust world. But in all the everything I've read, we've always had an unjust world. That people, and a lot of people who call themselves Christians, have said, Christian ministers have said, the ones I've heard, I've never heard any of them say anything different, said, we were all born in evil, in sin, that the flesh is evil, that there's something in the flesh that makes us evil, everybody's flesh, and that we'll be saved at another dimension, something called the hereafter. But up until then, we'll just have to put up with nonsense. But you do the best you can.
Yes, sir.
Now, every preacher I've ever heard preach has not deviated from that story. That's in the Christian religion. Now, in other religions, people argue about, back and forth, saying some say that's true, others say it ain't true at all. That's all made up. That people can be perfect. And, people go to war about it. They have religious wars. They kill each other about the argument, about the discussion of what it was like, what it wasn't like, how it should be now, who should lead it now, who should be listened to, and who shouldn't be listened to, and who should be destroyed, and who should be allowed to live. And we're in a chaotic world.
Okay.
So everything that's going on now is not the way that it should be.
And not the way.
Nobody can agree as to how everything should be. But we should do our best to find out how it should be. And I'm trying to do my little bit by pointing to trying to get these constructive results.
All righty. Thank you, Ray from Dallas. Thank you. I'll tell you, don't be a stranger. You already know what's happening. Okay, you are listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Nelly Fuller, and I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. To get in contact with the remaining 20-something minutes of the show, call this number, 516-453-9921. If you are a new caller, let the call screener know that you are a new caller, and we'll work something out with that. You can also Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY @gmail.com. It probably will not be read today, so do your best. You can also go into the chat room, going to blogtalkradio.com, click on programs, and then you'll have the Produce Justice show. Then right there, you click on that, then you can get into the chat room, and I'm going to tell you right now, they be blowing up in that bad boy today. I mean, some serious stuff. They even brought up the Dred Scott decision. All righty, you want to do all that good stuff, and we can do that in the remaining 28 minutes that we have in today's program. All materials and books can be bought at producejustice.com. I'm going to say it again, producejustice.com. You can also purchase the books through Amazon.com, and if you choose that, make sure you give a little experience in the comments or notes so that we can do what we do with that. Could you do that? Would you do that? Thank you. Thank you very, very, very much. Okay, to the call screener only. Don't worry, everybody else cover your ears. She told me that she's on 301 on the area code, but I don't see it on my screen. So if you can do that, we can get her up there. Let's see here. Got to do this here. been putting this in here. Man, I received the message and didn't get that. Okay, Mr. Fuller, this comes from Mr. Miller. He says this, Mr. Fuller, you've been studying the constructive racism, white supremacy longer than many of us have been on the planet. My question is quite simple. Has this work ever made you feel depressed? And if so,